What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Dad Life. In this episode, we're going to talk about the Corvette, a little backstory. So, enjoy the video. Let's see how it came to be.
Get it.
Alright guys, thank you for tuning in as always. So the Corvette, how did it come to be? So before the Corvette, I had a 2005 Dodge Neon SRT4. It was a Neon with a big turbo on it. So that was actually the first car I ever purchased brand new. You know, financed it from Dodge, 5 years. I remember picking it up with my dad back in 2005. And it was pretty crazy because I'd only driven stick shift on a 4-door blue, like 2005-ish style Cavalier at my old job. My old boss used to throw me the keys because it was a Cadillac dealership, Buick dealership. He knew the Cavalier wasn't a hot seller for them. So he's like, here, Don, learn how to drive stick, teach yourself in the back. So I did, horribly, but I learned. So then when I told my dad I was going to order this car, he knew it had a turbo, but I don't think realistically, you know what I mean? He was just like, all right, it's a Neon with a turbo. It's not a Mustang. It's not a Corvette. It's not, Camaro. Certain cars of, the 90s, 2000s, obviously with history. He grew up in the era of muscle cars. So if I said, hey, Dad, I'm getting a GTO or a Corvette, a Camaro, they'd be like, no, you're not. First car was a Cavalier. Don't buy a Cavalier. So I buy a Neon, one step above a Cavalier. So I financed it. Took 3 months to get it in because I wanted it red. I wanted a sunroof. It was the coolest thing ever. So I hope everyone, if you haven't yet, has some point in their life where they can kind of order a car, so to speak. Buying a brand new car off a lot is probably just as amazing, if not the same feeling. But actually ordering it when they say we can't get the color and the features you want, you have to wait 3 or 4 months. Crazy. Anyway, ordered that car, had it for many years, paid it off. I think I ended up having it for 7 years or so. Bigger turbo, I did the fuel system, 2 different sets of wheels, first lowering springs, coilovers, 2 different exhausts, all different kinds of stuff. And I'll put some pictures here. So it was pretty cool. So my buddy Ian, shout out to Ian, he got, I think his was like a 97, 98 silver C5 stick Targa. He came over one day. My dad always had Corvettes. I always loved Corvettes. Going to car shows, I was always drawn to rear wheel drive, American, older. And then of course, as I got older, I started liking the newer technology. But yes, I always liked Camaros, Corvettes. He gets a Corvette. He's like, here, come on. He lets me drive it. Now it's like, boom. My other buddy, shout out Tristan, still has to this day a 6 C5Z. American racing headers, crazy custom cam, like the works. Makes a ton of power to the tire. And that car, I always said, we used to joke, I would pull up in my Neon, big turbo, oh, this is great. He would pull up, and I always said, that's what it must sound like at Heaven's Gates when you die if you're in the cars. Because it was just rumbling, thumping, it growled, it was amazing. That didn't help, so thank you, Tristan and Ian. So after Ian let me drive it, I was hooked. I was like, oh my God. So then I'm like, well, how much did you pay? He tells me what he pays for it. Once we found out what he paid, and once I found out how much they were going for used, obviously not, I wouldn't be getting a $20,000 used Corvette, but at that time in that age, I was like, this is possible if I sell the Neon. America. So, I list the car for sale. I say, if I'm going to do this, I have to do it. Well, sometimes you build a car and you have that attachment, you have father attachment, you have, friends attachment, working on the car. I did a clutch in my mom's driveway on my own with help from buddies. We did a turbo kit, help from buddies. Shout out Agavino. Duct tape and a hammer. It'll get the job done for a turbo kit. And you have that attached into a car, and I'll never sell it. And then you start saying, I was gonna put a 4-point, cage in the back. I did inserts in the seats. I was going to do the racing harnesses. Who knows where else it would have gone. Probably just, honestly, just wasted more money on it. Would have looked amazing, but, so it's like, I'm going to do it. So anyway, I lift the car. I put it up, astronomically high for a Neon SRT, especially at that time. And it's modded, $15,000. I'm like, there's no way in hell. But deep down, I'm like, let's test it. And what happens? What every car guy dreams of when you go to sell a used car. You either get someone that's extremely young, that has parents' money, and they just go, oh, this is awesome, I'm going to buy it. And then you get lucky. Or you get an enthusiast that either has the car, lusted over the car, or they're willing to pay the premium because they already did the math in their head. I got the latter. Guy and his fiance already had a silver Neon that was stock, SRT4. He wants another one. Now the best part about it is, and guys know this, he claimed my modded one he was buying for his fiance and he was going to keep the stock one. Guarantee you that didn't happen. However, he came back, he said, I'll give you 12.5, 13 for it, whatever it came out to be. And I'm like, well, we're close. Not bad for a Neon. And then, then you start kind of getting the second down. It's like, I'm not going to sell it. I'm not going to sell it. I'm not going to sell it. I love this car too much. I'm not done with it. It's my car. It's my baby. It's stick shift. It's all of it. Big turbo. I mean, I still wanted to race at the track. I had slicks. So there was still stuff I wanted to get accomplished with it. And then I finally said, if you give me $14,000, we got a deal. He called me and gets $14,000 for an Neon. That's why I sold it. I literally went to my now wife and I'm like, there is no time I will ever go to sell this car that I will get $14,000 for this car. Sell the car. A couple months later, it's my right around my birthday, and the year I was getting married. So thank you to my wife Katie for being super supportive of my madness. The year we were getting married, literally a month or two, this is all starting up. So as wedding plans are coming fast, we're almost here. I'm selling the car, and then not only keeping that money for a house that we're buying, I'm gonna re-spend the money on a Corvette. So she's very supportive. So I call up my buddy Tristan. We look at a black one. It was, I think, about a 2000, completely bone stock, up in like upstate, like kind of the mountain areas. Needed an e-brake adjustment. Guy was asking a little. It was very nice, but it was one of those. He's asking a little high for a completely stock car, and I knew I was going to mod the Corvette. So it's like, if it was already at the top of my budget or even out of the budget, yeah, that wasn't the car for me. It was great, but it wasn't the car for me. Then I find one in Jersey, had Foose wheels on it. I'll put some pictures in. They weren't the best, but had wheels on, ugly headlights, but it was tinted, short shifter, and a catback exhaust. So I was like, all right, it has something. Went there, made the deal, offered the guy $13,500, done deal. So the next day, my wife and I, we go up to North New Jersey, we pick up the car, starts raining on the way home. I think we stopped at like a coffee shop on the way back, and it was just so exciting to be like, damn, we did it. Like, we got a Corvette. The car came with an SLP Power Flow catback exhaust. It had that huge cast tip. It was a one-piece exhaust tip on the back. E6 short throw shift, 19 and 20-inch staggered Foose wheels on it. They were ungodly huge chrome wheels, rubber band tires. And then for the headlights, it had the eBay special chromed out pop-up, or I shouldn't say pop-up headlights, just fixed headlights, if you will. So one of the first things I asked when we were doing the deals, I said to the guy, do you have the stock headlights and buckets? He did. They needed to be repainted, but shout out to my buddy Eddie, who I used to work with, who actually painted them for me. So then just, short stuff over the years, wrapped the roof and the halo with gloss black. Then I picked up, for I think $500 or $600, I got some chrome Z06 17-inch replica wheels. So I ran them with some nice tires for a good amount of years. Then did little things like switchbacks and the front lights. My wife got me awesome halo LED taillights for Christmas one year. That was a cool Christmas. So just like little stuff like that. Because I already had the exhaust and it was like, all right, it's a Corvette, power was decent. But of course then comes the cam and you're like, man, I just really want to cam this thing so bad. So insert a Black Friday deal a couple years later, and in that process, like a month or two leading up to it, I reached out to Martin and his team at Tick Performance. They're really big in LS motors, custom ground camshafts, and just really knowing how to build a good solid car that performs.
And nowadays there's so many options off the shelf, and LS motors are very consistent that you really could just kind of say, what are you looking for, what kind of power, and pretty much pick an off the shelf cam. But regardless, I still reached out to Martin at Tick Performance, and I kind of explained to him, you know, as crazy as it sounds, I'm like, here's what I'm looking to do power wise, here's what I'm doing now for the first round of mods. No heads yet, but down the line I want to do the ported 243, if not a little bigger head. Maybe an intake manifold. Here's what I want it to sound like. I don't want to run cats. It's not, but I literally said, it's not going to be my daily. I want it to smell like, it's cammed, no cats, you know. I want it to sound like it's galloping, trying to mimic my buddy Tristan's. So they cut it on a 111.5 LSA. So it's right, it chops nice. The power, put down 380 and 351 to the wheels on a dyno jet, which isn't bad because again, it's a pre-2000 car, so it has just the LS1 intake manifold. So realistically, if I just do an intake manifold swap, I'll probably pick up about 10 horsepower, but realistically, it'll bump the torque up somewhere in the 20 to 30 range, dependent upon that. Did an LS2 timing change. He spec'd 660 lift, titanium valve springs, seals, I think 7.4 inch push rods, ported and blueprinted oil pump. Then I had an SLP balancer, but they didn't send the ARP bolt, so I ended up just reusing the stock balancer for the time being. Oh, can't forget, Texas Speed long tube headers, catless. They are 1 3/4 inch headers into pretty sure 3 inch collectors, and then it tapers back down to the X pipe. So again, it performs, it starts, it's reliable. And then I took it to the guys at Complete Street Performance up in Westchester, and again, I'll link the description. Andrew and the team that I always shout out. He tuned it, awesome. And the best part about I like about them is they're down to earth, they're realistic guys dealing with the car. You're gonna race it, so he feels you out. He could tell right away where your priorities are. He knew I didn't need max effort. He knew I needed to perform. I need to get as much power reliably as I can, versus just, hey, it has to make 395 to the wheels or 400, which he could have done almost guaranteed if he pushed it more. But he also knew I don't need this guy blowing up his car. Or at that point, that was probably the fastest rear-wheel drive car I would have ever had.
As always, a huge shout out to all of my buddies that helped with the project. From Rob, all the assistants let me use your house and garage way longer than he should have, to my wife, Katie. She was legitimately in the engine bay. When we had the steering rack pushed aside, the intake manifold off, it was awesome. The radiator out, she was in the engine bay working on it with me. Shout out to Agavina, shout out to Mike, Anthony, Tristan stopped by with coolant, wouldn't forget that. All of you guys were a huge part. Greg, Matt, all you guys that stopped by, hung out, lended support. It was a great time. Thank you guys. Hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't. This is Dad Life. Thanks for watching.